Ha! Once
On the
again, I
same
have
side.
surprised you.
I know.
Yes.
On the
every time I fire that off, I go, that's right. We have still the short one in there because we used it for something. Hey, Justice Serve TV is live and on the air. Michael Bryant here. You're Linda Kenny Bodden. That's what you say there. That's what you say right there. I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. So, happy Monday. Good weekend.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, let's see. I was in a snowstorm.
Yes, that's right. Your basic April snowstorm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
What was that? Friday morning, or was it yesterday morning? What day? What? Maybe even Saturday morning? Because we had a little dusting here as well. But you're just a little bit up in the mountains there at the cabin, so you got a little more. Yeah, bit of a surprise. Any other surprises going on that might relate to some of the cases we're following? We just posted a little something on the Harvey Weinstein case. They're back at the retrial beginning jury selection tomorrow, so we'll get into that in a little bit of detail. But that's truly, I may even have to pull out the breaking news sounder for that because it truly is breaking. But Karen Reed, shall we begin there?
Yeah. Why don't we? There's a lot happening, by the way, on cases we're covering. But I think that Karen Reed may be the one that most people would like to start with. Although we have our person of the week today,
Mm-hmm,
all right, that you all can guess at. I threw a little hint out there, by the way. While we were getting ready for the show, I changed the description a little bit because I knew that we weren't going to have a jury today. And I threw a little hint out for person of the week. And we're also going to get into some testimony of another one of the favorite witnesses over the weekend. We posted the ones dealing with last week was Proctor and Jen McCabe. And we thought we'd get into a little bit of Brian Higgins today, too, while we're waiting.
Fan favorite, Brian Higgins. That Romeo. I guess it's one surprise. I'm here for a reason. I'm not up in Canton.
Yeah. You're supposed to be up in Canton. We told everybody you're going to be up in Canton. What happened?
Yeah, well, that damn courtroom just isn't churning out enough jurors, I suppose. And from what I understand, at the end of the day, they netted 0.
Right. Scott McGinnis is in our chat. One juror last week bouncing to Karen Reed. That led me to posting, by the way, when I was just saying, come watch. I think they should go back. And I've said this. Those jurors, 10 jurors picked in 3 days or 2 days or whatever it was. It was like a New York minute, right? Stealth. There's no doubt because they obviously started questioning more, and the defense probably got a little more argumentative about questioning and who was coming up. And no doubt in my mind that there's stealth jurors in that 10. There was no way to pick all those jurors, 10 jururs. And now we see what's happened in 3 weeks, right? We lose jurors. Excuse me.
So now that's pushed the start to Tuesday because Monday is some sort of post-Easter Massachusetts
next week. You're
holiday.
Talking about next week.
Yeah,
next week.
Today is some sort of holiday. So instead of, they were talking about, let's start tomorrow. And then it was rumblings of, no, we'll wait till Wednesday. And obviously it's keyed into how many jurors they get and how many alternates.
Right. And also we have Holy Thursday and Good Friday. And it's,
what is Holy Thursday?
It's this week.
I know, but what is it?
Well, in the Catholic religion, you have Holy Wednesday, Holy Thursday, and you have Good Friday.
Holy Wednesday and Holy Thursday. All
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Good Friday.
It's Holy Hell
Day. It's very, very, very important, So they have 15 jurors, Scott, now? Instead of 16, right? They have 15 instead of 16, and they want to get 18. We said from the very beginning they should be looking for 20 jurors because you're going to lose jurors, right? You're going to lose them. And I, quite frankly, I think they should do the defense and the prosecution more preemptories, and they should go back and look at some of the jurors they picked early on to see if some of the same questions would be answered. So Scott says 15. The same questions, excuse me, would be answered. I don't know why this is making me choke. It's making me break up.
Don't get choked up.
All choked up.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So that means next Tuesday, just as a personal note, I'll be jetting my way back from the West Coast overnight. So I will not be able to be in Canton that morning. We'll be on, of course, covering it, and I'll wander up there maybe afterwards just to kind of get the feel for the initial part of the trial. But unfortunately, they did not consult with me when they were rescheduling things, and I already had this trip in the works for some time. So, well, we'll work it out. It'll be fine.
You may have to do the show without me. I don't know why I'm coughing.
You have to have a beverage.
I'll tell you what. Let me mute myself for a second so I can cough in private.
Yes, please do. The cough button, always very important. So we're going to talk about, obviously, Karen Reed, talk about where we are, where we aren't in that. I know this will shock you. New motions filed. So we're going to get into what those aren't. Not earth-shattering, but nonetheless time-consuming. And, you know, where do they squeeze these in if there's going to be some argument about them? And do you think there might be argument? Yeah, probably going to.
Yeah. Especially, well, not the first one. The first one is unopposed. So, and should we
It
tell
was
people what
just
the first one is?
almost a statement. Yeah, Gretchen Voss, who's the reporter with Boston Magazine, obviously very important part of the pretrial activities because they wanted access to all of her personal notes from one of the 3 interviews she did with Karen Reed. It was the only one in which her attorneys were not present, and there was nothing recorded. It was all just on her notepad, her official notepad. And that was actually on a motion for reconsideration. It was upheld that was not going to be turned over to the prosecution. That was, there's no shield law in Massachusetts. It's a very interesting weighing. And the question becomes the chilling effect on a journalist versus the right for the prosecution or whoever's looking for the material to get it. And Judge Bev, on a motion for reconsideration, decided that no, it's those notes in and of themselves, without some other connection, some other reason to have them, it would chill the journalistic endeavor. So somewhat of a surprise. So she was on the witness list, and they had to make a special request that she be allowed to go
her
to court, Gretchen Voss.
Their attorney you interviewed is the one who made this motion, by the way.
Oh, did he? Burgess. Yes.
Yeah, he signed the motion, and it says it's others. They call it others in the docket. Unopposed motion of Gretchen Voss for exclusion from sequestration order, and it's motion. This is scary. 666. Okay.
Holy Week. Holy cow.
It's after Holy Week. Holy cow. So yes, motion. If this had come on, it was docketed like on Good Friday, I'd be like, oh. But anyhow, so neither the prosecution, interesting because the prosecution nor the defense opposed it. It's unopposed. And yet, Aidan Carney, right? He's still kind of a victim, right? Because they indicted him. He's got put on the witness list. He wants to be covering that trial. And I guess he's going to be able to cover the trial. But in the, he forgot to put his name, I understand, in the, what's the thing that they're talking about?
Randomizer.
Yeah, that thing, the randomizer. So he wasn't picked to be part of any coverage this week. They picked a number of media outlets, some of the legacy outlets who didn't show up today, so other people got in, like Ted Daniels. It should be in. He's been covering this from the. So by the way, I look back at Hernandez, and he actually covered me in the Hernandez trial. He's got a lot of tweets about me in the Hernandez trial. He probably doesn't remember.
So the local folks, those who've been, whether it be print, TV, radio, whatever, that's should be an automatic. Folks parachuting in should not. I wish we had a credential, and then we'd be subject to the randomizer. But I would never expect to be ahead of all those other folks. And the randomizer has put some interesting characters in the mix that maybe shouldn't be.
Anyhow, we're doing a public service announcement right here from Scott McGinnis. Apparently, he's got Will DeGlare's coat, and he was trying to find him. So if you look around you and you happen to be at the courthouse right now and you see Will DeGlare, Scott McGinnis has stolen his coat. Oh, no, he didn't steal his coat. That would be a prosecution bent, okay? Unfair based on the burden of proof in evidence. Okay.
Yeah, he might be arrested for theft now. Watch out. So now we've become a clearinghouse for lost and found, whatever you need up there in Canton. We'll pass that along.
We're making a point about how you have to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. Scott says that he has his coat. Did he take his coat purposely? Did he steal his coat, or did he pick up his coat because it was left behind?
Or was it given
a setup?
to him?
Was it given to him? I mean, we have to hear the evidence, and when you hear the evidence, it's going to be the state's burden to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. If you can't prove one way or another, then the defense will win. So Scott's coat, picking up that coat or having that coat is a good example of the burden of proof.
And here we have Scott now offering to give it back. So maybe there's some extortion involved here. Maybe he took it and now he's willing to give it back after he talks to Will DeGlare. Maybe there has to be some remuneration before he gives the coat back. So.
Oh, or yes, or maybe everyone's so much having it. Maybe he's going to resell the coat, or maybe what the heck here? Or maybe he has the coat for some other reason. Maybe he's going to set up a crime. I mean, there could be all sorts of reasons here. Scott, see what you've started.
That's right. So, be that as it may, and as exciting as that is to figure out what's going on with Will's coat.
Our best. I'm shy from that's actually Missy. I missed it. Wait. Welcome, I can't get Scott as innocent.
Scott is
here we go. Shy gal.
Already people are lining up.
The coat was rehomed.
Rehomed, yes. Can we see the coat? Do we have any visuals? That would be nice. I forgot where we're going, what we're doing. What are we doing here first?
I don't know. Maybe you want to maybe Scott, maybe you want to put it up for auction and just say that, Will, we auctioned the coat off, on Justice Serve TV so that we can have bail money for Michael Bryant because you know what, your TRO date hasn't come down yet. Everyone is confusing. It was confusing that first case.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we mentioned it briefly on Thursday. When Mark Randazzo was on, who's the attorney representing many folks in these 3 different lawsuits, he had the temporary restraining order heard. Again, these are federal court cases as to the 4 protesters who have been protesting against Judge C, not anything else. Her, and that was heard and denied. Right. So
that's the 4 that were protesting the judge in the buffer zone, as Mark Randazzo likes to call it. Okay, that and when we talked last week, we talked about how the cases were separated, and I think Mr. Randazzo attorney wanted to get them together. And I thought maybe having them separated was good, if you recall, because I thought there were 3 separate issues, 3 separate types of analysis.
Yeah, but I thought for judicial economy and efficiency, they should be together because the core of operative facts are virtually identical. And the underlying complaints are based on the buffer zone. That is all 3 of these cases. Anyway, somebody much smarter than me has sorted them out to 3 federal judges. And the TRO for the journalists, which would be Tom, CPU, and myself, they haven't heard that temporary restraining order. So I guess it's possible that a different judge could see it differently.
Well, because yours is a different analysis, I think, anyhow. But it's actually good because now you don't go there. You don't go there today and maybe get arrested. Tom CPU was walking through the buffer zone a number of times today, I think he talked to and he turns his phone off. He talked to Daniels, reporter Daniels, Ted Daniels, and all. So maybe it's a good idea because maybe if they saw you before we have a TRO or a decision on it, you would have been arrested, and you would need that bail money from Scott having Will's coat, which apparently is the thing in our chat here.
That is a long way to circle around to bring that all together. But okay, good job. So there was one other motion, right, that was filed that was not unopposed. What's the deal on that one?
Well, this is going to definitely be unopposed. This is a motion that was filed with the Commonwealth's notice of intention, and this is motion 667, to introduce extrajudicial statements of the defendant. Here we go. What could those be?
Yeah, I'm looking at this list.
There's kind of a guidepost. This is kind of a guidepost, right, about what the list is.
It's a guidepost. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, that means. There's a list of people of both interviews and people that they want to subpoena. There you go. There it is, and it has so you kind of know what the
copy of the audit report. Yeah, we want that. Let's get that. Yikes. Copy of the updated CV of Shannon Burgess, 7 pages long. I can't remember who she is. Who's she?
I don't remember. I looked up the last. I looked at the last CV. I started from the bottom.
Oh, okay. 3, copy of the transcript of Janet William Reed interview from The Body in the Snow. Have you seen that yet?
No, I have not seen it yet. Okay. And I was wondering what happened to the subpoena, if you recall, for documents and records from the production company that was in California.
Yeah, based on what I've heard, nothing. It was kind of a pocket veto so far. Like they haven't made an official objection, I don't think, but they haven't supplied it either. I was talking to some folks who knew about her in her other life. Last name is, I think her name is Maurer. I'm close. She did Unsolved Mysteries. That was one of the big things she produced. And so we thought, well, there had to be a connection between her and that show, and somehow the defense team, because she was so embedded, right?
Right.
Apparently
right.
not. Apparently they reached out to her out of the blue. So
Oh, wow.
sounds like one of those situations where they knew her somehow. Maybe they were fans of Unsolved Mysteries, because the company is now called Unsolved Productions. And
Right.
that's because she basically generated the company when they decided to do the show. It wasn't a long-term or long-established production company. And it kind of evolved so quickly that that ended up being the name of the company. So anyway,
this is,
I don't
they
think
want the
there's been production
transcript,
yet.
though, right? They want the transcript of the Janet and William Reed interview. So
Mhm.
this sounds like they didn't get any of the. If you look at the way this is worded, they didn't get all the stuff that can't on the cutting room floor, or all the back tape, right?
Yeah,
It,
and the
right?
transcript, who cares? Anybody can get the transcript. So they want to tear into it, but anybody could get that. That's not anything protected.
And that's Janet William Reed. That's the parents of Karen Reed.
Mhm.
I would love to have them on our show. Mr. Reed has been very supportive of his daughter. I'd
Mhm.
love to. I would like to have anybody associated with John O'Keefe on our show, but no
Sure.
one's reached out to us to come. You know, all we have said, it's very interesting, because all we have said on this show is that we don't believe the prosecution met their burden of proof in the first trial, right?
Right.
I'm not sure how they can meet their burden of proof in the second trial on charges 1 and 3. We can see if, I can see if the prosecution changed to a very thin theory of number 2 in terms of what causes a negligent homicide or a reckless homicide.
Yes.
You know, how they could possibly meet their burden in number 2, but they haven't done that. They're going for it all. So, you know, here we are. And so people are mad at us when we tweet sometimes. The worst tweets, the worst bots at me, because they're associating with me with being unfair. No, I'm very fair. I'm very fair. As a former prosecuting defense attorney, I want the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you can't meet it, you don't get convicted. Simple as that.
And we're just looking for the justice for the victim here, Officer John O'Keefe. And just because the prosecution's doing a shit job doesn't mean that we don't think there was a crime here. We don't know. We don't know what the hell happened.
We don't know what happened. If you don't know what happened, you can't prove anybody guilty of a crime. It's simple as that. And quite frankly, Michael, Brian, and I've said it before, I mean, the prosecution is going around. They're trying to go around their own medical experts, around their own forensic experts, right?
Yeah.
By hiring all these other people. But, you know, the testimony of the 2 medical examiners, the 2 women on the stand, did not support that John O'Keefe was hit by an SUV. If he was not hit by an SUV, if he did not die from a car hit, I don't see. That's it. That's, to me, that's the end of the case. I mean, boom. And this case should have then been decided on motion.
Yes, we've gone round and round, and that's it. We're well past why in the hell this is in trial, because there's many reasons it should not be. Okay, here's a couple other things they're looking for: the defendant's interview from Body in the Snow. They want the keeper of records for Dateline's episode. Okay, Night of the Nor'easter. What a boring title that is. Somebody fix that. That's horrible. Copy of the records keeper for Unsolved Productions. Copy of the record keeper for 2020. The episode The Perfect Storm. A little better title. Ripped off. Copy of updated expert contract and payments. We know what that is, don't we?
Yeah, we know what that is.
ACA. It's the ACA. And a
ACA.
copy of the CV of Miyasako.
And I looked him up. He is certified by the Texas Forensic Science Commission as being a DNA analyst. So he was in one of the episodes that they asked him to look at something. Because what this is they're trying to get the keeper of the records to say, look, here are the episodes. This is what was said, and this is how you can do it. You can get that and say, yeah, this is what was published, okay? And then once you put that, you can go from there and you can use it for a cross-examination of people, or for impeachment, or for direct evidence of admission.
I know that she read off his name, and I think it was Austin, somewhere in Texas. And, of course, it was not listed by last name. It blows me away every time I hear the witness list. It's ordered alphabetically by first name, and not just by first name. If you're a doctor, then it's under the D's. If you're a trooper, it's under the T's. I mean,
anyhow, yes, it's Texas Forensic Science. It's the Forensic Science Commission. He's certified to be licensed as a forensic biologist, DNA analyst. by the Forensic Science Commission in Texas, which, by the way, reviews a lot of cases and finds people are wrongfully convicted. So it's a real, the Texas Forensic Science Commission is not something to be ignored. So if they're giving you a certification and a license number, you probably are qualified to
in most courts.
In most courts, right.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure.
And you can Google. If you Google his name, up will come his license.
Okay, so let's talk about, and I think that's news of the day, pretty much it, right? So we're going to talk about some stuff that we're going to see unfold in this second trial that may be of interest. You mentioned Mr. Higgins, the Lothario, Mr. Brian Higgins, former AFT. He is former, right? ATF, I mean, he's former. Or is he still with the ATF?
I don't know. Can you tell us, Chad? Is he former or is he president or is
something about that?
Yeah. Is he retired? Is he what? You know?
Yeah, is he on leave? I think he did take some time off, if not left. I thought he retired soon after the.
He's the one, if you recall, that when I didn't know much about this case, and we were doing a little bit on law and crime, and I kind of tuned out after I heard about the leaf blower and
is that what that leaf blower?
Yeah, the leaf blower and the solar cups. By the way, he's still employed, John Miller says, but he has desk
duty. Oh, they chained him to his desk.
Desk duty. All right. I got that. But when I first really paid attention to his involvement in the case is when he was being questioned about his wanting a relationship with Karen Reed, and he says he was sussing things out. So it's our new word, sussing.
I've been saying sussing forever because it's really that's one of the words that our buddies in England, in the UK, that's just a common term for figuring things. Yeah, it just means figuring things out. Now sussing has become suspect.
So is gazumped. Gazumped is a common term in England too. Do you know what that means? Besides 7 letters for gazump, being
I don't know that. I do not know gazump.
It's when you have a contract on a property and you think all is good, and somebody comes in and overbids you, and the other people undo the contract and take the new one. It's called being gazumped.
Oh yeah, I thought it was just being fucked over, but okay. As I am a real estate broker, I'm involved in many of those types of transactions, and it's not pleasant.
The word gazumped.
Not pleasant. Okay, so should we let's set up Mr. Higgins' testimony. Okay. This little quick snip that we want to use here. What is the single most issue with the Higgins character / testimony? It's not that he may or may not have had a date with, had designs on, had a kiss or two with the defendant, Karen Reed. It's what he did after the date of the incident, January 29, 2022. And what did he do?
Well, I can tell you that, but I'd like to see before we set that up. I'd like to talk about his being at the Waterfall Bar.
We want to start there.
You know why? You know, and I will say, you know, I was talking to another person. I talk to everybody when I go out. I mean, I said, do you know the Karen Reed case?
I can't imagine that.
The Karen Reed case. You can't imagine me talking to everybody. I like to, because it comes from when I have cases. I want to see what people think. And somebody said, well, they believe that he was actually having a relationship already with Karen Reed, even though everybody denies it. So it goes to show you that it doesn't matter what's said in the courtroom. What people think is kind of important out there.
Yeah, well, you know, that's a lot of busybody type stuff. People love that kind of gossip. So who knows whether it was true or not? Who knows what was really happening or not? But you want to see that video?
I want to see the video of the night.
Of the night, Michael Dots have enhanced, right?
Right. Our buddy Michael Dots have been given us permission to use this.
Go ahead and narrate. You're not narrating.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want you to talk and you won't talk.
I want them to hear this, and we'll play it twice.
Is there's something worth hearing? It's manufactured audio.
I know it's manufactured, but you see that now this is Brian Higgins, whose arm is being grabbed, right? Right? And who's it being grabbed by? Chat? Okay, you tell me, right? Right there. You see that? And you look at that. Something is going on, right? Something's going on here. Between whom? Everybody? Come on. Everybody? Come on. Who are these people? All right. Who are these people? By Chris Albert. Thank you, Carrie B. Chris Albert is grabbing
Carrie B,
Brian
congratulations,
Higgins.
by the way. The mug's in the mail. Okay.
Brian Higgins. Okay, then grabbed by Chris Albert. That was an A+, all right, for involvement here. This is at the waterfall. This is where they're leaving.
So
you
it
can't
happens
tell
twice.
me. Okay.
And then a third person who I can't tell from the back. I can't remember who's that.
Go backwards, and I want you to show. You want to see where Brian Higgins' arm points, okay? When it points after. Okay, hold on a second. Wait a second. There, it's right there. Stop. Okay. Who is sitting in the corner where that arm is pointed? It is Karen Reed. Okay. And it's John O'Keefe, who's kind of like dancing a little bit, like he's a little nervous, or you want to gather or whatever. Like he's like moving his feet a little bit. This is where this arm is pointed. When you look at the whole video, what Microdots did is took this and enhanced this so we could see what's going on here. And again, thank you, Microdots, for allowing us to use this. All right. But Chris Albert grabs Higgins. All right. Then after you got the double grab, then Higgins looks back, and he looks back at Karen Reed, and in my opinion, all right, in my opinion, looking back and with that arm pointing at Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. So something's happened. What?
Okay, now he's got his attention, and then he's like, no, I'm not done with you. And then he says, well, yeah, but she's over there at the bar.
All right, over there. She or he, yeah, in that corner there. And then it's like, come on.
And it's like, come on.
And someone points out that Higgins' testimony is he left the waterfall and didn't say bye to anybody. Well, maybe he didn't say bye to anybody, but he certainly was involved in this. Look at this.
And who's he saying, let's go? Who's he saying that's it?
Well, I don't know. I can just tell you in that direction. John O'Keefe is in that direction. Okay.
One more time. Hey, I'm telling you, don't turn away from me.
Microdots is in our chat and says he's motioning, just as I thought, motioning directly to John. That's what I thought, Microdots, that he was motioning. And isn't Karen Reed right next to John sitting on the bar stool? But John is looking at them, right? Right? Look at this. Look at this. And look at that. And now, come on.
Is that a come on, let's clear the air, or is that a come on, we're all leaving to
Fat
go?
Dumb and Happy says, you think Karen was outside? Microdots, who was outside? John was directly there that he's motioning to, that we see it when we look at the whole thing. Microdots can confirm that. Okay? Yeah, great job, and thank you for letting us using that, because there's no doubt, you know, that John is there, and he's doing like a two-step with his feet far away, and Microdots absolutely does rock, because to me he was motioning to John. Everyone says that Jen tried to get Karen to leave with her as well. Karen was at the table. I saw Karen at the table, not outside. Karen was at the table. I don't know what they were saying. But to me, there was Microdots. Chris grabs his arm before he does anything, which shows prior knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly something they were having a disagreement about. What more we know, who knows? I mean, who knows?
But that's not what the testimony says, okay? Everything's hunky-dory, everything's fine. I didn't say goodbye to anybody, blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't until I saw this enhanced video, a close-up, that I could see that what was happening. Because I watched the regular video a lot of times about the waterfall, but when you see it in this light, when you see it here, thank you, Microdots, because you really see that there's something. We've all been in that situation, right? Somebody grabs you, you know, or you've seen somebody grab somebody, you know. Look at the face too, you know. That wasn't like, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. I love you so much. You're so cute. Yeah. you know. So anyhow, so with that in mind, why don't we go to the next video and talk about what makes this important?
Yeah, and obviously, consciousness of guilt, something we've heard many times, and
In the
that can
meantime,
apply to others,
anyway.
not just a defendant, right?
Yeah. Follow Microdots, by the way, on follow Microdots, and
Yes.
absolutely, please follow Microdots.
Okay, so what we have is just a little snip of the testimony on one very specific, and perhaps most important point of the man's testimony.
That information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
So
that's odd.
I do not have that phone anymore.
Let me do that again.
You've destroyed that phone.
Information stayed on my information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
So where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Half, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would have when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
So hold on before this jumps out at us out of the blue.
This jumps out, out of the blue.
This is somebody you appreciated his opinion on this as he kind of distilled it into this one sentence.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that you've contacted or you're going to contact.
We're going to contact. He's in Florida. He's an attorney in Florida, and I've sent the names to everybody, and you could look him up too. He's well, you'll see his name, you'll see his website, and I want you to look it up because he's got such a great handle. And we're gonna Missy's gonna get in contact with him to see if he wants to come on the show, because I think he synopsizes why there's a problem for the prosecution with this testimony by Higgins in a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way.
Well, let me do that.
Don't peruse the dark net for contraband. If you don't do terrorist-related searches, and if you don't possess kiddie porn, then you won't have to worry about wiping or destroying your electronics. Thank you for your question.
That's it. I mean, I think everybody, he put it very succinctly, right? But anybody who hears Higgins testify as he did knows he's a lying sack of shit, because it's not a very believable story. Even when he tries to answer the question and says, Judge, if I were to do something like that, what I probably would have done is remove the SIM card. And I mean, what an idiot. The guy is just an idiot.
Yeah. And the judge had to say, did you remove the SIM card, right?
And he doesn't say yes or no. He says, if I did, here's what I would have done. That's not an answer. That's non-responsive.
But I think the judge then had to go to him and say, did you remove the SIM card? She had to be the one to press him, and then he couldn't.
And he still never answered the damn question.
I want to hear it again.
Answered the damn question.
To make it count. Thank you. Thank you.
Hypothetical. Ahead, if someday Chris Albert, Brian Higgins are indicted for murder and or convicted, does that mean all the witnesses that perjured themselves can be charged with concealing accessory manslaughter? That's always a good question. It's always, that's like a law school exam question, right? So the answer would be, could they be? Possibly. And then you would go through the various facts and timing that would suggest that they could be. Would they be? Highly unlikely. Do you believe anybody's?
No, I don't think
those two predicate issues are challenging enough. Chris Albert, Brian Higgins being indicted for murder and convicted. That's highly unlikely. Even if you assume those things happened, the secondary crimes, I just can't see it happening. I can't see it.
Wants to admit mistakes. Look at these people are wrongfully convicted for 45 years, and they say, "Oops, oops." They don't ever want to make mistakes, and
but
then they have to
it count. Go ahead.
It's a great question, but also, you know, then people say, well, we weren't in the courtroom to hear the testimony, so we don't know because there's a sequestration order, right? So you see all the defenses, and of course, everyone has a right to a defense. We all know, and things have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But I agree with you, Michael, wholeheartedly. Could they be? Yes. Will they be? Ever?
Great law school exam.
Great question.
Making it count.
Great.
Okay, so you want to see this again or hear this again?
Yeah, I want to hear his testimony again.
Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see if I can. I mean, it's not much. I'll play the whole.
Took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
Right, so where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No,
I did not destroy it. I threw it away. You know.
threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would have when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know,
See, now he says at one point, first of all, he still never answers the question, but he says at one point, I threw the phone away. And then later on, he changes that to say, if I threw the phone away. So he can't even keep his own lies straight.
And he goes to a army base to do this.
Yeah,
It doesn't
on Cape
have
Cod.
right. Okay, but doesn't have
It is
jurisdiction.
just outside the jurisdiction, yes.
Is that outside the jurisdiction? Just before the question is, did he know that the preservation order was coming down? Because there was a preservation order that hit like right after that, but they wouldn't have jurisdiction anyhow because now in the army base, right? You know, that's who's going to go there and get an army base? The feds aren't going to let somebody into their army base. Kathleen Powers, by the way, wants to know, can they have a deaf person who reads lips to interpret the Microdots video? I don't know. Microdots, you're going to have to answer that if you're still here. If not, we will send this to Microdots.
Depends on what Kathleen means by they. Yeah, of course, the defense could do it and the prosecution, anybody could do it.
If they can possibly get a good clear.
Well, is it going to be admissible? That's a bigger question. You can definitely get somebody to read those lips, but I don't know.
Well, if it's clear, I don't know because he enhanced it and brought it closer. So I'm not sure the enhancement, if you're enhancing it to read the lips, I'm not sure that could be done. Okay. But how about somebody telling us what they said? How about like a camera or somebody telling us what they said?
Oh,
well, yeah, I would try that.
And you show it and you say, what are you saying here? What are you saying here? What are you saying here? When the respective person is on the stand, you can certainly ask, and then they could very clearly say, I don't know. I have no idea.
Or you get somebody who is deaf, who does read lips, right? To give you what you think they said at this point. In a court, they have court interpreters who read lips, right? That's one of the things you have to require under the ADA and all. And you say, didn't you say this here? Let them say no. Then I think the ability to have somebody come in and say, I'm certified as a court interpreter to read lips for deaf people, and therefore that's what's being said. And then you get it in that way.
If you ask that question, though, I'm going to object to lack of foundation, because how do you if you're just throwing out a random, isn't this where you said, I'm going to get you, and there's going to be an objection. Anything you say that's more than innocuous is going to raise an objection, and a good one, because there's no foundation for it.
That's the problem with all this. But you know what? It underlies the fact that everyone's looking for the truth, right? We want to know what happened. What was said? What happened? Not, I didn't say goodbye. Well, I didn't say goodbye may not be a lie, right?
Here's the answer Higgins would give. Judge, Your Honor, if I was to say something, here's what I would have said, because that's what a normal habit would have been to say, and then he would just spew out something, innocuous, because he's just a bag of lies, that dude.
Anyhow, look up the. Can we play the Miami lawyer again? Because I want everyone to look it up.
Are you getting paid? Are we getting?
No, I'm not. But I love him so much, and I want Missy to call him and invite him on the show. Can we play the end of this?
I said remuneration twice, now 3 times. So I think I've exceeded my
not getting paid
of using that word.
That information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off. Why
not enjoy this one more time while we're waiting for that?
I do not have that phone anymore.
As long as you didn't throw it away.
No, I threw the phone away.
Oh.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I have the right.
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that?
He's giving him more time to think. Look at this.
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would have when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I
See
would
that he
break
just
it
said
or-
when I threw it away.
Yeah.
When, not if.
Not
when
away.
I threw it away.
Yeah.
And
Cameron
it's
was
funny. Do you have a plan for things you've never done before? Like if I were to do it, I would have taken the SIM card out. I would. Well, wait, you have that plan in your head for some day when it becomes necessary?
He's an investigator. He knows you don't throw things like that away. Cameron 22. Why sustain all these objections? What was wrong with AJ's question?
But
One
I
of them
did
was a
not-
little argumentative. That's why he was.
Yeah, which is, it's on cross. You can get a little bit of room, but not in this court, not with this judge.
Wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
If you don't peruse the dark net for contraband, if you don't do terrorist-related searches, and if you don't possess kiddie porn, then you won't have to worry about wiping or destroying your electronics. Thank you for your question.
Okay, look him up. I know his name. You can look him up. He is just, we're going to ask him to come on the show. He does a lot of DUI defense according to his website. I'm going to let him promote himself, but that's a great thing. You're not a terrorist. You don't do kiddie porn. Why are you throwing your phone away?
Hey, I have every right to do that. So, and it's not destroying it. I just threw it away. Don't, try and make it look bad because I drove to a base on the Cape Cod and threw my phone away because I have every right to do that. What an idiot. Moron. Okay, so I can't wait to hear from him again.
I could watch that. I mean, I just think it's so. I think the whole thing with, and by the way, who put that together was Olivia. Put that clip together. She put that clip together with that gentleman who I will let talk to. Talk about himself and his law firm because I've been accused now of like the little remuneration.
Oh,
now I'm like, now you got me. Now I'm getting defensive
about that. I think.
Getting defensive. No, but I'm not.
Well, if you have a new outfit on next time, I'm gonna start to wonder. Okay,
so, well, Olivia,
so,
we took that. Thank you, Olivia. Put that. We actually took that from Olivia. She put that. It's great, Olivia.
So we
Lambo.
stole from Olivia and promoted this other guy. We are a mess today.
No, I just thought it was the best thing I'd seen. It was so great. It was just to the
it's
point. And it's like that's what AJ should say when he opens. By the way, Sherry D gifted one Justice Serve TV membership. Thank you. I mean, it's just like the car didn't hit John O'Keefe, and here's your witnesses. One's this, and the other one threw away his phone. If you didn't, I mean, it's like you look at all this stuff and you have your arguments, right?
Well, I mean, there's just so much. There's so much to work with, and there's no surprise that apparently on counts 1 and 3 they were unanimous not guilty. I mean, what shocks me more is that there was a real discussion on count 2, but that is the one that we've said many times. If we were bringing this case as prosecutors, that's the one we would focus on. That's the one we think we got a shot with. And this jury still came up hung on that count, but at least few folks apparently found there was enough to convict. So
Cameron, 22 is apparently still hung up. One of them was argumentative, but the judge won't let any. When Alan asked the question, she just won't let. There's no room. There's just no room. And I have found that in Massachusetts, they don't give you much room to play. The game that us lawyers tend to play sometimes.
And one of them allegedly was, and again, because you don't announce the grounds, I give you a couple of options. One was either lack of foundation or leading, but he's on cross. So that's the one in which he said, well, you took the SIM card out and there had been no foundation laid about, do you know what a SIM card is? Have you ever taken one out before? There was nothing to suggest he knew what the hell that meant. Right. So that was legitimately sustained, I guess. And then the judge kind of circled back around and got to the same language. But this is more, I mean, it's 2 against 1. You've got the prosecution and the bench, objecting basically. And we had, I want to throw this out there because we had some comments people were talking about, and there was even somebody that quoted the Massachusetts statutes regarding objections. And we've had this discussion. Always annoys me that the judge has ruled nobody will even state the grounds for the objection. And I think some people get confused with speaking objections versus stating the grounds for objection. So let me just throw my take on this out there, and maybe as we go through this trial, you'll see a very distinct difference. You'll see cases where they say objection, foundation. That's the objection and grounds. That's fine virtually everywhere, including the Massachusetts statutes. What they say in the statute in Massachusetts is you cannot have a speaking objection. They don't call it that. They just say you cannot explain or make an argument beyond just stating the grounds. That has to be done at sidebar. So that's the distinction. She won't even allow the grounds for an objection, which is ridiculous.
Okay, here's how I explain it. The grounds for objection, it can be like what you hear in federal court. Objection, Rule 403, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and
That's
you have to
prejudicial.
look it up. Right.
Yeah,
all right. Here's the speaking objection. But judge, Mr. Tacopino said such and such a thing, and the witness said such and such a thing, and Mr. Tacopino is wrong. He's absolutely wrong.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, Lewin is a perfect example of a speaking, crying
objection.
Yes, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Prohibit those, save them for sidebar, but tell me the grounds. That way I know what the hell you're ruling on. That way when I appeal your horrible decisions, everybody knows what you're talking about. Because a lot of objections could be one or two different grounds.
Right.
Anyway, off that soapbox. It just really annoys me. Okay, what else we got on Karen Reed before we get into a couple of other things?
Well, again, so the earliest openings would be next Tuesday. Assuming they have a jury, right?
Yeah.
We don't know, we don't really know what the judge is going to be looking for. I assume, but when she gets to the end of this week, whether she's going to finish Wednesday or she's going to finish Thursday, I don't know what that is. Well, what her game plan is. That since that's going to be it, whoever the alternates are, whoever they have. I don't, although she did give the 25th initially, if I recall, as the day they would open.
Yeah, that was thrown out there, right? Like that was kind of kept in her back pocket, and it's almost like she enjoyed putting a little more pressure on everybody, to keep rolling forward to April 1st, and now we're selecting the jury, which, as we noted, got to 10 so fast.
Right.
It looked like the 25th was, way down the road.
Right.
I do think it's good, assuming they get a jury. Even if they don't get a jury over the next couple of days, there's still some breathing room here for the defense and the prosecution to prepare, because they're not really doing much during jury selection process. There's a lot of paper and grinding in the background, right? So if they don't go to openings until next Tuesday, even if they're still getting the last 2 or 3 jurors, it's a much easier pace, and it gives everybody an opportunity to be better prepared. So I think, on balance, even though it definitely is a problem for me, I think on balance it's good for everybody else.
Well, but we're assuming, and very well may be, since this jury panel is impaneled to pick people and through next week, right after Easter, that maybe that they will be doing that and will be opening on the 25th, right? It's very possible that that's the case, because you don't know. Look, they didn't get any more jurors today. You don't know when people go home. Good Friday, Easter Sunday. We just had Passover with people with families. You don't know people going home and they start talking about it, and then we lose more jurors as you come back next week.
They think about it. Let's see, how do I get out of this? This was a mistake. How do I get out of this? I always tell the two things that will definitely get you out. We're beyond that for those that have been put in the box. They can't at the last minute come up with one of these two excuses, which I have found 100% will get you out of jury duty. And I'm not encouraging this, because I think jury duty is a very important thing. I'll be reporting myself in mid-June to the Superior Court here in my area. And I'm very excited about it. I'll be taking everybody along.
Right.
Come on.
You're going to check it out. You got a jury duty. They gave you really far in advance notice, though.
Well, I asked for, it was going to be either this week or next, and I asked for a deferral, which they give you, automatically one time.
one time, right?
And I only asked for a deferral of about 6-7 weeks. So anyway, if you're going on a prepaid vacation, prepaid is the key,
Right.
or you're a sole proprietor and you have to literally close the doors of your business if you're not there. Those two things guaranteed they'll get you out. Of course, you got to prove they're true. Like they will
But let
ask
me think
you,
about this.
do you have a like a receipt for this travel? I mean, they will ask for that.
All right, well, let me think about this. When is your jury? What day actually is your jury
I
duty?
think it's late. I think it's in late June, July. I can't remember for sure.
I don't think
After got
July.
it
I think it was
deferred.
June. Yeah, I think
You
it's
think it's
June.
June?
But
I think
here
it-
we have. What if they start April 25th to May 25th? You know, we could end up with a verdict when you're in jury duty.
Nobody will keep me on the jury.
Yeah,
I'm
planned
confident.
surgery is another one that will get you out.
Yes.
And not planned surgery like,
Like
you're
elective
going to
surgery?
have your elective, like some elective, like me, like I'd be like, give me elective surgery. I mean, like, you're going to have your hip replacements and it's been scheduled for 8 months. And the doctor, that's it. When if you lose
Yeah,
that,
I like that.
you're on. Or you're going to have a heart surgery, or you're going to have something like that. Yeah, like a planned surgery, meaning like elective surgery, ain't going to do it usually.
Yeah.
So
I have a manicure, Judge. I have a manicure scheduled.
I'm trying to get one scheduled. It's been 6 weeks. I can't get one scheduled.
I don't have one scheduled. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm not going to be getting my nails done anytime soon. Thank you very much. Okay. What else do we want to talk about? We had a couple things on the list here. Oh, should we get into the Weinstein stuff just because we just sent the piece out?
That's in the Weinstein stuff because we have something that we posted just before the show came on the road.
You set that up on queuing up the point. We're just going to show a couple of minutes of it, which is reference.
Weinstein,
to the
by the way, is starting to make a jury tomorrow in New York City in 100 Center Street, where we do have a press pass.
Yeah, I'll go down there. I got to go down there at some point. It looks a lot like that.
Right. What do you know about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, well, luckily there's no randomizer. That's the key. Let me see if I can find this.
And that's Arthur Idala and Imran Ansari, who are the law firm representing Harvey Weinstein on Weinstein 2 in New York. Remember, Weinstein 1 was reversed because of one big error, especially that the judge made, which is letting all stuff in that says that Harvey Weinstein was a bad person, not somebody who sexually assaulted somebody, but was a bad person, and it was just too much. You just can't do what he did.
Yeah, bad character evidence generally is not allowed, and what the judge did here was found a certain pattern. That was the key. He found a pattern. In the good old days, this would be called like a signature crime, where maybe there's a robber that every time he knocks off a building, a burglar, he leaves the kitchen sink running. I remember that case in law school.
Wow.
And so every time they had a burglary with that signature, they were allowed to talk about it and use it to convict the ultimate defendant, even though they were random and there were many of them. That signature, that pattern made it admissible. Well, they didn't really have that pattern here. They had people that weren't supervised by Harvey Weinstein. They had people that had consensual visits with him, but never on the incident in which they claim was criminal. It just didn't fit that pattern. Literally, there's no pattern. So the court said, no, you can't do that. It's not a fair trial. Now they're going to be back. So we were very curious, as you were when you asked this very important question.
Is he going to take the stand?
Imran, what do you think? Is he going to take the stand? I mean, you're going to make that ultimate decision. you know, as you know, you don't know. I mean, he'll be. I will. This we can tell you, between Imran and Diana Fabi Sampson of my team, whether they like it or not, they're going to be spending some time visiting Mr. Weinstein on the weekends, preparing his direct testimony, so that if as you guys know, like you don't just throw someone up on the stand, right? You have to prepare them. This is what it's going to, these are the questions, and let's talk about how you answer them, meaning, you don't go on and on and on. You have to listen to the question. You have to absorb what the question is and then just answer the question, especially regarding cross-examination. So Imran and Diana will be preparing him to testify, especially regarding cross-examination. And I'll tell you guys what I told him. I said, Harvey, you've been on the biggest stages on the planet Earth, right? You've been in the Oval Office and sat with the President of the United States. You've been on the stage of the Oscars more than once, where 1 billion with a B people are watching you. I said, this is going to be the scariest moment in your life. I said, if I were you, I'd bring a diaper. Because, those 12 people, or actually it'll be 18 with the alternates and the judge and the court officers and the American flag, and obviously the media. It's a daunting environment. So we'll make that decision based on after seeing the evidence come out and how we feel and how he feels. Look, it's his life. And if he chooses, say, look, Arthur, I want to tell my story. And I mean, Linda, as you know very well, like there are very few decisions that the defendant actually makes, right? To accept a plea, to not accept a plea, to testify, to not testify. So, he'll accept our guidance and then he'll do whatever he wants. I mean, all kidding aside, he usually follows Imran's instructions because Imran has earned his trust over the years of representing him. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. So it seems to me, if I were playing the odds, more likely than not that he might testify. It's a lot of preparation sort of early in the process because, they just started jury selection tomorrow, in fact. So I don't know. I think this is a guy that really has nothing to lose and may feel this is his last chance to tell that story.
Right. That very well may. I mean, this is a different case and all. And also very good strategically because they also have filed a motion to have, and if you listen to the whole interview, have Mr. Weinstein move to Bellevue for the trial because they're saying he can't properly coordinate with his attorneys and he may not be able to properly make a decision to testify or properly testify if he's so sick that he can't get treatment. So the judge has ordered that he be transferred, and the Department of Corrections or the Commissioner of Corrections or whatever, I forget whoever he said was in charge, is refusing to do that. So he's got another built-in appeal if he can't take the stand because he's too sick to take the stand for improper or not proper medical treatment.
And it was interesting. They said the judge is okay with that. The judge was fine with moving the defendant to Bellevue and not having to deal with not only the horrible or lack of care at I almost said Rice Street, but you know what I mean, Rikers. But the logistics of dragging him in and out every day. Now, I don't expect anybody to feel sorry for Harvey Weinstein under the circumstances, but every defendant should be looked at as on a case-by-case basis. And if you have health care, medical issues, I asked Arthur and Imran, I said, well, wouldn't that normally be just kind of handled administratively? It just seems it makes sense, because the last thing you want is to get a trial underway and then the defendant gets sick, either because not cared for or because you don't get a lot of sleep because they get you up earlier. If you're at Rikers, you got to get up very early to get on the bus to the trial. If he gets sick and they have to halt the trial, that nobody wants that.
Right.
So, and he said they also had to make, because the administration was a little bit hesitant, they're making basically Eighth Amendment arguments against cruel and unusual punishment.
Right. So before you go watch the whole thing, because I really want to watch the whole thing, you guys have to really hit the like button, right? Okay. On this, because you're going to learn, and some of you may not know it, that when you watch the whole thing, that I was involved in this case for a period of time, and I happen to know Harvey through that involvement, that period of time, and you'll hear me talk about how he treated me, and it may surprise you a little bit. I know I'm going to get the bots and the trolls, all right, because I do a lot of representation of women who have been sexually assaulted. But everyone deserves a fair trial when it comes to a criminal trial. And that's what you have to remember. If any of you are ever on trial or have had friends on trial or been accused or anything, you want the system to work and you want it to work correctly. And whatever it is, it is. If you get convicted fairly, you get convicted fairly, but don't get convicted unfairly. Give everyone a fair strike, no matter whether you hate them, like them, love them, or don't know them.
Yep, because all of those things that we're talking about fighting for, you'll hope are in place if you're ever in trouble, right?
Right. So hit that like button now, because you may not like me afterwards if you hear what I had to say. Although we're gonna just think, Michael, we're gonna have to start having Fashion Fridays soon, because I forgot to tell everybody we have a store. I mean, not just here. Here only gives you 30 options to put in. We have like a store. You and I have been our best customers, because we're gonna be wearing our beanies and our pants and
I was gonna say
stickers.
On that clip we just played, nobody ever knows what a guy's wearing, but I'm wearing the same thing because I don't have a wardrobe budget. What are you talking about? you have different clothes on it. We just did that earlier today. So
Yeah, and you're gonna be in Justice Serve TV when you're traveling. So when you go through those Baja zones in Massachusetts,
wear my
you're gonna have
gear.
a little of the gear. I
That's
actually
it.
got yoga stuff. I got yoga pants because I'm doing yoga now and yoga things and all sorts of. I'm driving Dizzy and Missy crazy because I want but I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. So you have to actually go to the actual fourth wall store.
Yeah.
I think we had the lift here because you all know that shopping is my thing, right? So.
Yep. And I got a printout the other day of stuff, purchases, people, and yep, you're far and away the leader. It's not even close. I did get the, we were having trouble with our logo being clearly printed on a hat. So now we're going to go down the dad hat road here. I don't understand what it is. A dad hat is apparently the soft structured hat, which to me looks better, feels better, but maybe that's because I'm a dad. But we added those, but the different logo, the logo that we use at the end of a lot of our breakout clips, I call them, that just says justice served, is more looks kind of like graffiti, graphic, edgy. Anyway, that makes for a very nice logo on the black hat. So I got that one.
Yeah. So I really want to be on what is it, Shopping Network, QVC. That's what I really want to do. But instead, I'm a lawyer because I really wanted to be Perry Mason.
I auditioned.
Anyhow,
I auditioned for that once.
Audition. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
things we don't find out on this show. But
Yeah,
anyhow, when you said Rikers,
I'm not there.
and Rice, Rikers and Rice, I'm not sure which is worse. I mean, Rikers may be the worst. Whenever you have a client on Rikers, boy, do you hate that. That's why
it's always been the standard, but we've heard so much about Rice Street in Fulton County that they may have some competition.
Yep.
Should we shift gears again? Are we done with that one?
We're going to shift gears again. Okay. Hit that like button before we shift.
Yeah. Okay. We're now shifting to the Lori Daybell case, which is underway in Phoenix. She is, of course, accused in the conspiracy to murder her third husband, Charles Vallow. And the wrinkle there, a lot of people are like, who cares? I'm over her. But she's representing herself in this case, which leads to some bizarre moments where she's cross-examining her brother, where she's cross-examining Kay Woodcock. It reminds me of remember that case? It was a shooting case in the subway. Colin, help me. It was New York subway. He went in. It was the subway shooter.
I know. I can't remember his last name.
Colin Ferguson.
Ferguson, right?
Colin Ferguson.
Colin Ferguson.
He's talking to a witness, and can you tell me what happened next? That's when you shot me. I mean, that was the kind of testimony that you shot me. And then there was a more recent case where a guy was accused of raping his ex-wife and kidnapping her. Do you remember that one? I've blown all those names out of my memory, but I remember that part of the testimony where, he's asking what happened next. You tied me down on the bed and you raped me. I mean, that dynamic is bizarre. And you have that same thing here with Lori Vallow Daybell.
Yeah, her green sauce and her enchiladas, and she was upset with her. She was upset that no one seems to remember that she was a good cook. Okay.
Yeah, that is horrible. So I want to dip into just a couple. First, let's do, because I think this is just bizarre. This is, cross-examination of Lori Vallow / Lori Daybell's brother.
Not the killer brother, not Alex.
No. And I talked to him last night, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But
you talked to Alex? No, he's dead. You didn't talk.
No. I talked to Adam, and I can see that being a confusing point for a lot of folks, and I'm sure he's been. We talked about it, but anyway, this is just some of the cross-examination.
You stick up for Charles?
Yes.
Did sticking up for Charles create issues between you and most of your family?
Yes.
Did you continue to stick up for Charles even with that happening?
Yes.
After you had that argument with your mom, what did you do?
Me and Zach left her house, and we were staying at Summer's house, my sister, who was away on vacation. And we were staying at her house, and we went back to her house. We were watching her dog.
Okay, this is actually some of the direct. Let me take you to I believe it's some of the direct.
And while you're doing that, I do want to answer this question, which is from Charity. How many of Lori's husbands are still alive? She had a prior husband prior to this who died, supposedly normal circumstances, by the way. You can Google it. I don't believe it.
It's tough to keep up. But as those who have followed this may know, Alex, the now dead brother, who is the brother of Adam, is supposedly the guy that killed everybody, the kids, Charles, and then died himself, apparently of natural causes, right?
Oh yeah, I really
that
believe
has not
that.
been questioned. That has not been questioned. And Tammy, of course, I forgot Tammy. Tammy Daybell also on the death list there. I noticed with This Is Law and Crime,
How long has
and I can't remember if they are Court TV or the pool, but when the prosecution is questioning, they pretty much stay on the witness. But when the defendant, representing herself, is testifying, they tend to pull out to a
it been
two-shot.
since we've seen each other in person?
Don't know.
When was the last time you saw me?
I don't recall.
Now listen to this, and I'll tell you what he told me last night.
So, has it been a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6
Something like
years,
that.
7 years, 8 years?
Something.
Something. I mean, and I said, it sounded to me like you were a little hesitant to help her in any way. And he said, and they told me it had been 6 years since he had seen her when he went into that courtroom. And so I wanted to find out what this whole thing was like.
Okay. So, you have no idea.
Nope.
You have no idea when the last time you saw me in person.
I don't know the year or how many years it's been.
Okay. So, did you see me at Colby's wedding in January 2018?
No, I was not there.
You didn't come to Colby's wedding.
No, I did not.
So, did you see me sometime that year at my house
Possibly.
where Colby got married? That house.
I did see you at that house, yes.
At least one time.
Yes.
So, possibly in 2018.
Yes.
And when was the last time we had any communications?
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay. So, you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
Get over that dish. It's not memorable.
Remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
Okay. And when was the last time that we had a phone call or text message?
I have no idea.
Could it possibly be around that exact same time?
Possibly.
Okay. So that was possibly in early 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a peanut gallery. Tubi doesn't
I was
like
gonna
her.
say, is there a
questioning
dog
him.
in the courtroom?
Who do you think initiated the final communication in our relationship?
Who concluded it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So right now it's 2025, is that correct?
Yes.
And so we haven't spoken in about 8 years? Would that be correct?
It's probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay. So would you say up until that point that how often would we communicate before that?
Before what?
Before 2018?
Probably on a regular basis. Once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month.
Like a call or a text message?
Yes.
Just keeping in touch?
Yes.
You know of us living in Hawaii and you were living in Kansas at the time?
Yes.
And in your career, you lived in lots of different places, is that correct?
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Dallas,
Yes.
New York,
Yes.
Wichita,
Yes.
Sacramento.
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Others.
This is where the prosecution just
And I
lets her
was in
ramble.
Texas.
Yes.
Arizona.
Yes.
This is all
Hawaii.
ridiculously
Yes.
irrelevant.
So would you say that we were not physically close during the past 20 years?
Yes, I would say that.
So our communication would be solely family get-togethers, occasional text messages. Is that correct?
And phone calls, yes.
Okay.
Judge is wishing he's anyplace else
So,
but
Mr.
there.
Hawks, did you
Yeah, no
see
doubt.
or hear or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
Repeat that again?
Okay. Did you see with your eyes or hear with your ears or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions.
All right. That is the one that
Well-
she's worked on so hard. for
That's all
so
she had to
long.
do, right? I
That was a
mean,
big one. And we're
It's
going to
actually
hear
not a
from-
bad. It's actually not a bad examination. You know, what
No.
is she going to say?
Well, she
on that.
bookended 2 or 3 questions with a bunch of ridiculousness that didn't matter. You know, where he worked and going on and on. Don't you remember she's hung up on this recipe. So a couple of things I asked him about. Number one was, how was that food? I didn't ask him that. I said, you know, are you going to show up for, you know, any more of the trial? Because he now lives in the Phoenix area, or the verdict. He said, no, I don't want anything to do with it. I only went because I had to. And he's done. He's done with her, and had been from that day in the kitchen. They didn't reference what happened, but in that day, he's in the kitchen at the house now, I guess, occupied by the newlywed Colby, and she says to him, "I am almost 100% transitioned to," and that doesn't mean what it may mean these days. I'm almost 100% transitioned into. And he described it as like immortality. I'm almost transitioned there. And he, at that point, decided, you're a nut job. And he, you know, kind of distanced himself. You know, this is 2018, long before what was to happen happened. And for him, it didn't take much. And so I asked him, I said, why do you think it was that Alex, your brother, who was believed to have been the real murderer, all of these cases are conspiracy to commit using Alex. Why do you think he was sucked in, you know, by them and this patter? And he said he just felt like they built him up, that he was a more insecure person. They built him up, that they told him what a great guy he was and how helpful he was, and made him feel good about himself. Now, it's hard to believe somebody would feel so good about themselves that they would kill others for you so you can continue to feel good about yourself. But that's effectively what he said was happening with his own brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine that knowing that your sister and your brother did this and these things that she's been convicted of? She hasn't been convicted of this crime, but in terms of the ones she has already been convicted, it's truly horrifying, Michael.
Yeah.
And
you know, there's one more crime coming up that has yet to be tried, and I asked him about that. He's not going to testify in that case, at least as far as he knows, and that's the case involving Boudreaux, the cousin. His first name was
Brandon
Boudreaux. Thank you. And he said right after what allegedly happened was somebody shot at him, somebody in a gray Jeep. So happens that Alex had a gray Jeep at her about that time. And he was missed, but clearly shot at. He picks up the phone and he calls Adam, and he's freaking out. You know, it's like somebody just shot at me. And they kind of walked through what happened. What did you see? What did you not see? And that's where, you know, it was learned that it was somebody, gray Jeep. That's it. That's really all they knew. But you put that together with all the other information about Alex, and it starts to look pretty clear. That case is going to be the hardest one to prove, I think.
Yeah. But how is he doing after all these years, knowing, I mean, obviously he separated himself from his sister, knowing that this whole family dynamic was out there and what happened to these kids?
You know, I get the sense he wants to be as far away from it and put it behind him as quickly as he can. He's become quite the pickleball professional.
I heard that.
He became this pickleball coach, organizer, and that keeps him pretty busy and keeps his mind off heavier, weightier things.
Right. It's got to be very, very difficult. I mean, I've always been interested in the family dynamic. For instance, if you have a parents or parents who are convicted of murder, how do their kids feel? Not wrongfully convicted. I mean, who are rightfully convicted. I'm always interested in that whole family dynamic, the genetic DNA that has to be that you feel. I mean, you talk to people, for instance, that parents may have taken their own lives and how they grow up feeling about themselves and their parents. I mean, this whole dynamic of having some kind of death around you as you are in a family, to me, is just a most interesting dynamic. A sad one, but interesting.
Oh yeah, and that's why I was most interested in. Here's you, here's Alex. How come you didn't, succumb to that praise or whatever it was that Alex did? Very clearly, different guy, different personality, more confident, more aware of himself, and not, needy and begging, for acceptance, which is apparently the way Alex was treated. So,
well, we have to answer this question, Michael, that came up before. I'm going to kind of transition back a second. Is it true? Is it against the code of ethics for prosecutors to suggest that observing your Fifth Amendment rights shows consciousness of guilt?
In what context? I mean, we know the answer.
We were talking about back in this actually related back to Karen Reed.
Yeah, I mean, we know you can't bring that up. So from a legal standpoint, it's never an issue because you cannot mention whether somebody has testified, will testify, won't testify, and the reason for it, or if taking the fifth, if they somehow get on the stand and they take the fifth, you can't comment on that as suggesting, wonder what they're trying to hide. You can't do that.
Thank you, Montana Lil, and glad we could get to it. So anyhow, there's more to come on Lori Vallow Daybell, or Lori Vallow, as she's now called, right?
Yep, Lori Daybell now.
Well, Lori Daybell
She's dropped the Vallow. Yeah.
She dropped the Vallow. Oh,
once she has certain rules. Once she kills the husband, she drops that name. Then she just moves on to the next name, Daybell.
Unbelievable. When you look at her with the blonde hair and the questioning and the very soft demeanor, looking how she's asking the questions, unbelievable.
Yep, she is wily. She really is.
Devil in disguise, as they
and she uses her sexuality, whether you think she has any or not. She uses it to her advantage, always has, and we can see the result. So it's frightening. Wow. So,
which leads us.
Oh yes, I almost forgot. Yes,
leads us to our person of the week.
It is that time, isn't it?
And I gave you a hint. The hint has initials. Did anyone figure out who that person that we're about to announce is? The initials were KW, right? I know you got hung up on the K a little bit for Karen, but it's not Karen.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now.
Here you go.
I'm going to do it. I'm so annoyed at my technical skills here. Let me try that again. No, we need the beginning. There we go.
They charge with might, eyes like fire, hearts alight. Drums of war beat through the night. Victory, oh what a sight. Oh brave souls in the storm, raise your swords no more.
Miss Woodcock, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with Alex Cox to kill my husband, Charles Vallow?
No, but I saw a ton of evidence that did.
So take that, drop that microphone. That of course.
Drop that, Kay Woodcock. Drop that mic, right? Absolutely, because as I said, as I tweeted out to her, that she has had the fortitude, the courage, and all to make sure that her family got justice, and she has followed Lori Vallow around to make sure her grandkids got justice, her brother gets justice from state to state, year to year, through thick and thin. And to me, she is a true hero of all of our persons of the week. This may be the most heroic person of the week. And Disney Nerd, you got it right.
And we talk about, Adam and his wanting to be as far away from it. Kay Woodcock, the Woodcock family, they've been front and center from day one and they've been, suffering right along with everybody else who's lost anybody in this horrible series of murders. So
just an amazing. She deserves to have the title of Warrior for Justice, right? And by the way, just a note: the Warrior for Justice song is not going to replace our Justice Served TV main theme, although we may use it on some of an outro. Somebody has suggested using it on an outro, and
yes, it may even happen today. But the volume seems a little out of whack, so I'm warning. But I think it's there.
Okay, Woodcock. Anyhow, before you go, because I know we're a little early today, but we've covered a lot of ground, only because we didn't want to change the time, because Michael Bryan did not go to Canton, so I guess tomorrow night we'll be on at our regular time at 6 p.m. But hit that like button before you go, because we have a lot of you watching the stream, and I don't see. Let me see. About 3/5 of you have hit that like button, so hopefully the rest of you aren't in here, taking a look to see what we're saying, because you really are on the troll team. What we're saying is that justice needs to be served, and in a criminal case, to be served, justice has to be proven. Cases have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So hit that like button.
Yep. So do that. You heard her. Do that. So I guess that tomorrow's 6 o'clock, right? Yeah. In the meantime,
tomorrow at 6 p.m. In the meantime, go listen to the interview we did with Arthur Idala and Imran Ansari on Harvey Weinstein, because that case is going on. So we posted that just before we got on the air here. We interviewed them just before we got on the air here to make sure that you had it, because, again, another high-profile case that Michael Bryan has a press pass to.
Yes. And and also check out the merch store. Michael Bryant here. In the meantime, try to do the right thing.
Linda Kenny Biden here. Hit like, share, subscribe, and notify. And we'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Still ashes on the skies.